You're fine.
Everybody.
Here's what I'm going to do, if it's okay with you.
I don't know.
We're supposed
I know
to-
Jay wants to leave because I saw him while I was on the treadmill today. He's leaving because he wants to avoid the snowstorm.
That's fine.
It's on his
I
way.
just saw a picture on Facebook where
Oh,
somebody was
God.
driving
On
through,
stage.
hold on, somebody says this, they're driving through Big
Where are you going?
Rapids, and it looks like
Oh, God.
that.
Man, my favorite city.
They're driving
wonderful.
through Big Rapids.
Yeah,
Well, my friend got her
Did
live
you-
there.
did
so
you-
they lived there.
did you check
They
into
never
the
got to
Rainforest
Florida.
Cafe and stuff
The
like
Yeah,
guys
we're gonna
got
check
called
that
in
out.
tonight to work an ambulance.
It's Ontario, it's
because
Ontario.
the guy got out at like
Right
the
next
last
door is
flight they got out.
rock and roll.
And they hadn't delivered the ship yet, so somebody got out.
Down, it's still fun.
today.
Yeah.
We're not leaving till
Let's see.
Sunday. I think everything's
Okay.
fine.
6 o'clock.
We're gonna
Can you
take
knock on the
advantage
window,
of an
somebody?
empty flagpole.
He's good.
Oh, yeah.
No, he said he's good.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the March 23rd Ways and Means Committee. This is a historic moment. It'll be the last Ways and Means Committee, and I was going to start with a moment of silence, but I guess not. So let's rise and say the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now,
I agree.
it is starring Sarah to take roll.
Klaus,
Here.
Crawford,
Here?
Johnson,
Here.
Kropa,
Here.
Max Bauer,
Here.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Lathrop.
Yes. Okay. On the February 7th minutes, are there any changes to those minutes, deletions, additions, corrections?
February 17th minutes.
Well, pardon? February 17th.
Not the 7th.
Yes, sir, the 17th, thank you. Then they'll stand as read. Okay. Sarah, first public comment, would you read it?
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Okay. Anybody want to make public comment? Please don't be shy. Yes, sir.
Matt Scheck, 306 West 9th Street, Traverse City, Michigan. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. We hear a lot nowadays, we use the term, or we hear it used, affordability. And I'm always curious about that word. You know, it's used in affordable housing, affordable public services, affordable health care. It's an adjective, and it's kind of like a euphemistic term that used to, I think, mask a lot of things. When I hear the term affordable, I always think subsidized. And that's one thing you don't hear about today is we don't have affordable government. I mean, who's going to subsidize government except the taxpayers, of course. Well, what brings this all to mind is that I happened to be on vacation last month on an island in the Caribbean. And as I like to do, I like to find out about the community that I'm in, and I go on a tour, and the tour guide was describing this beautiful island, you know, all the beautiful sights, and it was very beautiful. And he closed his comments by saying, and we have free health care here. And it took me maybe a half a second. The synapses in my brain were a little bit slow, but I had to raise my hand and I asked the tour guide, I said, what are your taxes like here? And the man stopped dead in his tracks and he kind of looked down, and about 3 seconds later he looked up and he said, they're awful high. And then he went on, he said, well, I guess our health care isn't affordable after all. And to me, that was a bingo moment, because at least somebody was putting it together. There is nothing for free. Our county government, I think this commission anyway, realizes that, and I just want to commend you for considering what you're doing and about cutting some things. I don't know how government, I think it's just incremental, but I was going to say any kind of government incrementally gets off track from doing what it's supposed to do. Basic services. Basic services. That doesn't mean do things that we all want to do but have somebody else pay for it. You know, the power to tax is the power to destroy. And one of the cruelest taxes of all that we all, and you guys don't even probably talk about here, is that the cruelest tax is inflation. Because that taxes the least those in our society that are able to pay for it, because they're at the bottom of the rung of the quantitative easing in our day and age, dollars that keep coming down, and it keeps landing on the backs of basically the poor people, and everybody else is already spending that money today. So I just close by saying thank you for being here and considering what you're doing.
Thank you. Please come up.
Good evening. My name is Tom Mayer. I live at 612 5th Street. And I'd just like you to consider, when it comes for making subsidy and paying money that the developers are going to use at the Park Place development and also at Pine Street, also known as River West, especially for Mr. Menzel and Commissioner Krupa, who sits on they both sit on the Brownfield board. At the last Brownfield meeting, that was my first Brownfield meeting, Judge Tom Power was there, and he seemed very concerned that money would be diverted from the county, money coming into the county that would be diverted and given to the developers to help with their development in the Brownfield. And he's concerned about the cost of running the court. I'm also concerned about the cost of running the schools when some of the money is school money, running Beta when some of the money is Beta's money, and diverting it into these projects. Judge Rogers has also been, he had spoke out about it as well in the courtroom during a hearing about the Pine Street development. So I think this money would be better off with given a little harder look before you approve Brownfield that diverts money from the county, and that would help balance the budget on an annual basis rather than delaying it into the future. I'm also doing some research, getting help from my brother, who is a partner with Deloitte. We're looking at different types of bonds that the county might be able to use to help finance some of the retirement debt, because I understand the law changed in the state of Michigan around 2012 or 2013, and Saginaw County might have been the first county to take a look at that and bond for retirement specifically, and long-term bonds, 20 years. So I know a little bit about that, but I'd really like you to take a look at that rather than just brush it off. Of course, you want to reduce everything else you possibly can first, but I also think you should look at the Brownfield. I don't think the Park Place is toxic like the Pine Street is. It's blighted, I guess. But there's 3 entities there at the Park Street one. Probably between $15 and $20 million of public subsidy. Maybe between $15 and $20 million for the Pine Street subsidy. It's a very large portion of the cost of the development. Probably comes close to paying for one of the buildings. And there's a lot of people who don't feel that that's the best way to do things. I would actually like to see you break up the Park Place one and make each entity separate, and not include something that's completely off-site, which is the Boardman River. Boardman River is included in that. Thank you. Please consider those thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Yes, please come on up.
Donna Gerhard, 780 Hammond Road East, Traverse City, Michigan. And I'm talking about something that doesn't it's money too, but for me, it's hard because for handicapped people, like, and I can't come down to the parades, I can't come down to luncheons even at the Park Place, they have 3 parking spots there for handicapped people. Parking is such a premium here in Traverse City, and everything is just cramming in so much, and for handicapped people, I know one time I had to come way back here during one of the parades to park way back in your parking lot here because I had no place else to go. And then my scooter died. It was really in trouble, but I mean, it's a hard thing because we need to have more places to park for regular people, but handicapped, it's really hard. So I just had to bring it to that knowledge because I tried to go all over Front Street, down to the Chambers. I mean, every place there was for handicap, and there's just so little for a van with a ramp. It's very hard to get one, and for handicapped people, it's really hard. We'd like to go places and see things, and I wish they'd have the TV thing too for for the Cherry Festival, because I could at least sit and watch it. Now I can't even go down to see the parade anymore. But I just think that's just a wonderful thing. If you could have more parking for people, we need that very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? There'll be a second time for public comment. So with that, we'll bring it back to the board, and we have the approval of the agenda. I think there's going to be go ahead, Chris.
Mr. Chairman, our Deputy Civil Counsel would like to get out of here as it's spring break and he has a family, and he would like to leave as soon as he can. Therefore, I'm going to propose an amendment to the agenda where we put our closed session immediately before the consent calendar.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
I'll support it.
Okay. Do we need discussion? Let's discuss it. Okay, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we'll go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman,
What?
I would move to go into closed session. No, I thought we just approved the agenda. Yeah.
You approved the agenda, but if you want to go into closed session now...
I'm in the process. Give me a second, Sonny.
I was wrong.
I would move to go into closed session to discuss attorney-client privilege communication regarding Whitney civil rights lawsuit, Correctional Care Solutions, indemnity, proposed settlement.
Okay, is there a second? Lisa Kropa. Any discussion? Pardon? Oh, roll call. Thank you.
Crawford? Yes.
I'll send it to you.
Johnson?
Yes.
Kropa?
Here. Oops, yep.
Max
Trying to
Bauer?
find my agenda on this.
Here, I'll forward it.
I think it got deleted.
Max Bauer, did you say yes?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Klaus?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Technological problems here.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Mr. Chairman, I move we come out of closed session.
Is there a second?
I support.
Okay, any discussion?
We're missing Mr. Klaus.
We have enough. We have a quorum.
We do.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, does this mean we have to say the pledge again?
No.
No.
All right. Okay, then we're going on to the consent calendar starring Sarah.
Hold on. Sarah's not ready. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar. All information identified on the consent calendar can be viewed in its entirety at www.grandtraverse.org. A, receive and file. 1, Bureau of Indian Affairs decision. B, approval. 1, 2015 audit engagement letter, Riemann. 2, budget adjustments, finance. 3, Google Apps email, calendar, docs, contract renewal.
Okay, is there any items that any of the board members want to remove from the consent calendar? Rhonda, do you have any items you want to remove from consent calendar? Okay. Anybody in the audience?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I just have a question. When was the last time we bid the audit? Is this the third year in that 3-year contract?
No, if we've done 3 years, this is year
We've always
4.
done,
this-
may I?
Yes.
We've always done 3 years. We had a 3-year option. I only took the 1-year, Commissioner, because I thought if we had a new finance person coming in, they may want to do
That's fine. I
do
couldn't
their own
remember if this was
negotiating.
the third year or if
Yeah.
this was an
But
extension.
that was the reason for the 1 year, is I thought we'd have that position filled, and then they may want a new relationship and let them decide that.
Motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
Support?
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. No special order of business, nothing from the consent calendar, department or action items. The pool.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Chris Erickson, Director of Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation. I'm here with Jay Buckmaster, the CEO of the Y, to give a report about the progress of the Y management of Easling Pool, which has been going on for about 2.5 months now. We feel, in Parks and Recreation and our commission, we feel that the partnership has been going very well. It began about mid-January, and the Wellness Center with the exercise, which is the exercise facility, opened February 1st. I believe that it's brought a lot of traffic to the Civic Center. We're very happy that we have expanded to offer more health and wellness options at the Civic Center with the exercise facility and the Y managing the pool. The pool has never looked better, not to say that we didn't do a good job with it, but we didn't have the resources that gave us the luxury of paying as good attention to it as the Y has. Everybody's been very positive about it. The staff has been lovely to work with. Jay and I continue to keep an eye on everything going on there. We meet frequently to discuss the partnership. I'm going to introduce him and have him come up here and give you some hardcore statistics. One thing I can tell you, one statistic I do have, I compared costs for utilities between last year during this period from when the Y took over for its first month. That's all I have right now is between January and February. And compared to last year, there's a savings of $2,200. And I don't know if we can attribute that to the Y directly or not. I think some costs have gone down, such as oil and things like that, affecting the heat. But we're happy about that, so hopefully that will put us on a bit more of a positive trajectory throughout the year. Before I introduce Jay, does anybody have any questions for me about this? Okay, so I'll pass this out, Jay.
Good evening, Commissioners. And I do have a theory of why the power went down, but that'll become later in my presentation. So So we started this about a little over 2 months ago, and so I'm just going to go through some statistics and then take any questions as we go forward. So we have tried to rebrand the Civic Center a little bit. We call it the Central Y at the Civic Center to, have it as one of our locations. And you have really this presentation as we're going through, but I wanted to get into some numbers. So as of today, before I got here, we have 155 new memberships, so we've been going, roughly 2 months. You can see the breakdown. We have 155 active memberships, 89 are seniors, 40 are adults, 11 senior couple, 8 adult couple, 3 family, and 1 youth, so you can get a little bit of the breakdown of that usage. Age-wise, on your second or third page, gives you a little bit of a member profile. We have 155 units, but 183 people that belong because of senior couple and adult couple. You can see the average age as you go through is 54 years old. And so in that chart, again, most of our chart starts to grow at about the 40-year-old through 66 plus.
Would you entertain, may we ask questions?
Yeah, if you want to.
May I?
Sure.
Of the 153 that you said?
55,
55. How many of those are new members that were in addition to the existing base that was already there?
So one of the things that we talked about was these are Central-only members, and so there are another, at least the first 30 days, and that's what we have to base this on, the month of February, because we had the Wellness Center. We have 36, what we would consider now, we're tracking 36 additional units that join the citywide membership that really most of their usage has been from the Central Y. So really, you're talking about 192, I guess, that would make it. So we're counting an additional 36. I didn't put them in here, but an additional 36 over the first 30 days would be put into what we would consider this total.
So if I had 36 new ones and the base of 155 were already customers that were there in the first place?
No. The 155 are new since we started.
Okay.
There's an additional 36 that joined in December and have used the Central Y the majority of their time, at least in the month of February. So the 155 plus the 36.
The 36 then have a membership that allows use of any YMCA
Correct.
from Logan's to the other one, and then the 155 are just at the Civic
Correct.
Center? Okay.
So I just joined the Y to support this pool. And I guess I made a mistake because I joined the big Y.
Yep.
It had all memberships, but I don't use the big Y.
Yep.
So when I go and scan my card, does the little Y get credit for that?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So I have a packet about 12 pages long that I take. So every 30 days, we're going to go through and allocate the appropriate memberships based on usage.
Good.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Thank you.
So we run that every 30 days.
Jay, if I could, the question I think I have, and maybe what Tom was trying to get to, we have 155 YMCA memberships at the Civic Center pool.
Correct.
All right, we had some memberships at the Civic Center pool prior to the Y taking over. I'm kind of curious how those two numbers compare.
I mean,
We have no idea.
Yeah.
Chris, do we have an idea how many memberships
I think,
we had?
well, do you have that number? Because I might.
I believe at the end of the year, or when we closed in October, we counted, and as Commissioner Max Bauer and Commissioner Kroppa both know, these are not accurate numbers ever because of the system that we had in place. We had 421 members, from what I could tell. But if you really looked at it closely, I believe there were between 350 and 421 members.
And
Yes.
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
I know.
And truly respectfully. The way the memberships were counted in the past is they sold punch cards, they sold 3-month memberships, they sold 6-month memberships, and they sold annual memberships. And I have actual membership lists. and I've never seen over 200 members.
Okay.
So it depends on how you count. But I think, Jay, starting out, I think these are good numbers.
Yeah, I have no problem with the numbers, but my concern is if we had 200 members before and we only have 155 with the Y operating it, we didn't elevate our membership, we've actually lost numbers. That's why I'm trying to figure out.
I agree with you on the face of it, Commissioner Wheelock. However, we closed the pool in October, and many people made a choice about where to go, and many people went over to the Y at that time. I think we will see them come back. This has only been in place for 2.5 months, and both Jay and I feel pretty positive that we'll regain that membership. I think anything like this is going to take time. If people already had joined the Y in October, maybe they're enjoying that for now. Maybe we have to reach out to a different membership base, and that's the long and short of it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Member units, you can see by month, so December, January, February, and March. So again, just shows you, how membership has grown over the last couple of months. One of the things that, when I came in December, is, where would we draw from? In this location, where are we going to go? And so the next graph puts a circle around a 5-mile radius, and so you can see a 5-mile radius. I would say the majority of members go in there. We're up the peninsula a little bit, but you're also seeing a fair amount on the east side. You're starting to see a little bit on the east side as you see that pin graph. And so we're going to continue to keep tracking that, but those are actual addresses, just in a very zoomed out way that we've pinned all 155 central memberships. Membership visits, and so this is another, another where we're tracking usage versus cost, those types of things. And so in January, in the first half of the month, we had 1,041 visits, so an average of about 55 visits per day. February 1st, we opened the Wellness Center side of it. We went to 83 visits per day, or 2,414 visits in the month of February. And so far in March, we're averaging 93 visits a day, or 1,485 through the 1st through the 16th. So you can see that's again on is growing. Who else is using Central? So when we talk about people coming in, maybe a guest pass, maybe somebody from the that has the citywide membership might have stopped in and used the Central Pool, those types of things. We're counting that too because we want to see that trend on how that works. We have 335 different people in the month between when we opened and now use that pool. So Sunny, it goes a little bit into, we're trying to track what that is. So 335 uniquely different people came in. And so again, we're following up with those people, if they came on a guest pass or whatever it is, and promoting those types of things. We've done some text update things to be able to, give them the full value of what that looks like.
Yes, Tom.
Did you have any comparisons in terms of benchmarks in the previous year prior to the Y taking in there in terms of visits that you could compare to? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Jay, you have an exercise facility over at the Civic Center as well as the pool. And are you including people that just stop in to exercise?
This is all visits.
All visits?
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yep. I'm sorry.
I just have a question.
Go ahead, yes.
The swim lessons that are coming up, I'm a Y member, but if I remember right, you don't have to be a Y member to take lessons. You just pay a different rate.
In fact, they're very similar. The Y community participant rate is very similar to the actual county member rate of $50, and a Y member actually gets it for $25.
Right.
So, yeah.
And my kids in those programs.
Yep.
what I'm curious about is we're basing our benchmark on memberships, yet, swim lessons are really important to our community, and that was one of the reasons, being on the Parks Board, it was important to us to have a community pool for swim lessons. So, and I think the community responds. I know a lot of people do swim lessons up here. So that's going to be a significant amount of people going in and out of the door who aren't necessarily going to become members. And I'm just curious about that as we look at usage of the pool and how we work on our sliding scale for our management fee and that sort of thing. If we see a significant amount of swim lessons being done at the Easling Pool, and it's a great location for it for a lot of reasons, I just am wondering about that as far as our benchmarks. We'll have a lot of people coming in and out, and if they aren't members, they're paying a larger fee to the YMCA, of course. You're making double what you would on the membership swim lesson. So it's just one of those things, and I know this is way premature to say, because you haven't even started that.
April 1st.
Yeah, I understand you haven't started that yet, but just kind of a thought I had as we're we're learning as we go on this. This is a brand-new adventure for everybody, and just one thing I was thinking about is, I was taking a kid to tennis lessons the other day at the Y, but there was a family next to me that weren't members, and they were signing up their kids, and I guess I hadn't even thought about it. So I thought about it for our Y as well. That may be a point of negotiation for dollars and cents with the sliding management scale as well.
Yeah, we had a certain number of swim lessons that we budgeted for 2016, and so we'll be able to, probably the second quarter, be able to give you where we thought we'd be swim lesson-wise and where we actually are.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see a lot more. You have 2 locations now for them.
We're 85% full for April.
I believe it. The demand is there. I truly believe the demand's there.
Yeah, we'll be running, citywide, we'll be running almost 400 kids in swim lessons in the month of April, and that doesn't include learn-to-swim programs or anything like that. So, other community I'm sorry, is there any out there? Other community participants, TBA ISD is off and running, Special Olympics. We're working at the final pool negotiations and kind of pool times for the high school swim team. Scuba North is in there. And then we have the Coast Guard. Those are some of the bigger ones. Of course, we've reached out to those, I think, 29 or 36 different groups, and we've been working through that. So Central by Pictures, if you haven't seen it, we do have a full weight room in there with we have dumbbells and cable crossover, bench press, squat rack, other benches, again, BOSU balls, medicine balls, some light hand weights. One of the newer things, we're trying to drive traffic to just Central to be able to up the value over there, is we bought some water rowers, and so those are very unique. Instead of the chain rower, it's water filled in there, and so it's like you're in the water rowing, and so we're going to do some classes with that. So that'll be uniquely individual to Central, which will drive some Central traffic. We also have a fair amount of treadmills, TVs in there as well. We do have some non-impact equipment like arc trainers. We have recumbent bikes, upright bikes. And one of the unique features that, again, we're trying to drive some traffic, and we're getting into this triathlon season, is our triathlon training center. And so that is uniquely positioned to something that nobody else has. And so we do feel we can take advantage of that. But we do have the platform that you can see here. We have CompuTrainers, and so people can bring in their bikes. There's a computer system in there that reads their speed and all those types of things. And then, as you see in the picture on the screen, their speed and where they place actually goes on that screen and projects. And so they can race each other on their bikes, and they can get cadence and pace and training and heart rate and things like that.
Well, you just got my attention. I didn't know this was over there. Shame on me. Do I understand I have to bring my own bicycle?
No, we have
you have them
spinning
there.
bikes as well.
Okay, because I was ready to... Okay.
But we do have storage for bikes, and
Oh,
people
no,
have them. Yep.
I'll use yours, thank you.
So that one we do feel is uniquely positioned, and then of course, the pool. We've, again, been tracking that and so on. So, if I would give myself a report card, right now. I would say that membership is okay. I think we've got some work to do. We're going to continue to, push that envelope. Facility rentals have been not on track to where, we've been contacting people. We just we're not where we want to be. Programs are good. I have it on yellow because we're just starting, but the capacity, we're almost at capacity, and I think probably the biggest thing has been customer service. We've gotten a lot of great compliments and support from this pool, and so our goals over the next, till we talk again, increase our program offerings, triathlon, swim lessons. We're going to do some paddleboarding. We're going to do some different types of things to get people ready for the summer. Summer membership push, reach out again, continue to reach out to past groups, continue high-quality service. And so, any questions at all?
I want to state, I'd never swam for exercise in my life. And since I've been going, my gosh, what a wonderful way to exercise. It really has helped me out. I was very impressed with the employees. They're enthusiastic, they're polite, they're informed, it's really great. The difference is wonderful. They mop that floor in the pool every day, and that's the Y really knows how to run a pool.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to hit your 400? I think, is it beginning or end of September is when we, reevaluate this?
Yeah.
You think you're going to hit it? Unless you have a big summer push, I don't think you are, just looking at the numbers. But you're in that business, so.
Yeah. Again, as we start to ramp up programs, I think we have to continue to uniquely position this location, and I think that's what we're working on. That's why we put in, the triathlon training. That's why we've put in the water rowers. I mean, really, that's been open, so we're less than 2 months of the wellness center open, and we're already making adjustments.
I'm impressed with what you got there, but when we start looking at our budget for next year, again, I know I shouldn't be talking about this in March already. I'm already getting the looks, but, to me, this is a service that we could cut. That's really, other people could pick it up. So, I know you're under the gun, and I'll just keep pressing you with that. Because I really, I'll be the first one to say that I definitely think we can cut this. If you don't reach the targets and can't take over the utilities, then, I don't know how we can continue on. So, just because of the budget concerns we have right now. So, and I think your utility costs were lower because it was a milder winter too. So,
actually, we have it all hooked up to the bikes that you just saw.
I like that. That's an excellent idea.
I was waiting for the appropriate time to do it.
I was thinking the Commissioner Challenge on the bikes, but.
In the Y, we don't use solar. We use bike power.
Me and Sonny
Treadmill
challenge each
power.
other on the bikes.
Commissioner.
A couple things. One, I did help with an emergency surgery while I was backpacking with a generator that was powered by a bicycle one time. It's kind of a unique situation, but I was in the facility a week ago Saturday morning as we prepped to take the walls out for the ice to come out. And they need some structural repair, which I'm going to do while they're out of there. But I think the one thing that we probably need to try to make sure is that we're promoting the memberships right there at the front, because now I know last weekend was the outdoor show there. There were thousands of people came in and out, and I think we need to make sure that they're aware that memberships are available here, and all of these facilities are available. I know thousands of people came in for the outdoor show, and they walked right by that front desk that the Y person is operating them to get into the Howe Arena. But I don't know that they knew that, this facility is available for you, and this is how you make it available to yourself and your family. And I think we're going to, over the next couple months, we've got literally thousands of people every weekend coming through that facility. We need to try to, catch as many of them as we can for memberships.
I think that's a great point. We'll do that for the boat show that's coming up the next
There's a senior expo coming, too.
Okay.
It's in May.
Yes, Tom.
I'm pleased to see that you feel that you got off to a good start. And I do think you do know how to run a pool, and not that Chris's group didn't, but obviously a new set of eyes makes it better. I was wondering, Chris, is it cyclical? Do you have more usage in the summer, or is it more in the winter? More in the winter, so you'll have a little downside on the other. And when the pool closed for a couple of months, there were some groups that found other options. I remember one or two. Have they come back, or are they still using the Y at the Silver Lake?
I've seen a lot of return faces, I will say that.
But there were some couple groups, so that were using it specifically. Was the Coast Guard
Masters and the
one?
Breakers.
Some of the user groups, yes.
Yeah, are they back, or are they?
The Masters and the Breakers, they're sharing time at both pools.
Okay.
And that's been the advantage also of this partnership, is that there's more water to go around.
Right. I do have concerns from the financial perspective. I hope that you can make your numbers. I know that the utility costs are quite high, and but I also am still, I want to just point it out again that we're responsible as a county to take care of infrastructure issues. And the pool liner is one issue. It's 40 years old or something, and I know that that's a high risk. Also the air handler, and I think also there was the ultraviolet area. Do you have any reserves set aside for the failure of those at all in your budget?
We never have, and we were not able to budget for those this year. We've
Okay, I
requested
didn't
them.
think you were, but
We've requested them as capital. They've been capital requests
expenditures.
every year that have been denied.
Yeah.
But this is why we're asking for the pool planning grant in a few moments.
yeah,
is to get us on.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and I hope you get them, believe me, because I wouldn't be able to repair any of those at the current financial state we're in. So I just need to keep you aware of that, and if you can find other sources of income, grants, whatever, please do so, because I'm hoping that none of these fail, but if they
Right.
do, they are expensive, and I don't know where I'd get the finances to pay for them, so.
And
just-
Mr. Menzel, we're very well aware of that.
Okay, good.
But we took a bet and a risk with that because we had everything assessed
Mm-hmm.
before the Y came in, and we're just
And I'm sure
going
you're
on faith
taking-
at this point. I did apply for a Grand Traverse Band grant to repipe the mechanical room, which
Mm-hmm.
really should be the first thing to be done. Then we can get our ultraviolet sanitization system. We did not receive that grant, but we might reapply for
Sure,
a grant for
sure.
something else for the pool.
And you have a foundation that's raising money for the
Friends of
group.
Easling Pool.
Is there a focus to take care of infrastructure in their activities?
Well, there's going to be as soon as we get the planning grant, and then we can use the experts to help us
From the-
prioritize.
From the Rotary Cherries to get organized?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Well, good luck to you. I hope it works.
Thank you, we do too.
Based on that conversation, if something major fails, and I don't know if we briefly talked about it when we did this contract, and we have to shut the pool down, are you refunding memberships, or are they just going to roll over to the Central Y, or?
Yeah, if something happened, I mean, like anything, they would have, they're not on any type of a contract. And
Okay.
so they would just stop their membership if they didn't want to, have one of our other facilities.
I mean, hopefully something doesn't, but.
Yes.
Senior Center? I mean, I looked at your numbers, and you can see that seniors are the predominant users of the pool. And, I mean, Chris knows what she's doing, but now that the Senior Center is part of Parks and Recreation, it just seems like a natural partnership. We had such loyal users in our senior aerobics classes and that sort of thing. And I was just wondering if there was any potential partnering with the county on that. It seems like there's a big group of seniors right there, and they tend to do year-round activities.
We have not had any.
Yeah. It just seems like an interesting group. They're really well organized.
Yes, Chris.
I just want to say, I think you're off to a wonderful start. I sincerely hope for every success for this entire facility. And drive careful, because he too is going on vacation tonight. He's going to Green Bay.
Supposed to go south.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I saw
you.
him on the
Nice job.
treadmill today, so.
Nice job, thank you so much. No.
Does she want to comment on the pool, though?
Do I allow it?
We take
you want
discussion,
to.
or take public comment on
Yeah.
the agenda
The
item?
public comment? Okay, yes, I guess I can. Come on up.
Donna Gerhard, 780 Hammond Road, Traverse City, Michigan. I just want to say thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful thing to have the pool back, and the ladies that swim there are just exciting. And there's one thing I pointed out to the people right away, that from the Y, is that we have a winter time here. A lot of the people go to Florida for the winter, or to Arizona, but they should be coming back now after Easter. A lot of people do come back. This has been going on for ever since I've been there. So I'm hoping when they get back, that'll all be, getting some memberships and everything, stuff like that too. So I think that'll be a help, because it really makes a difference, because it's not just the pool, it's just because of the winter time here. So I hope that makes a difference. And I know that I was over checking out the rowing machines yesterday when I got on swimming, and those are exciting. I think that all of their machines are going to be really nice too, and they said they're going to help me get down there, get onto that. It might take 3 people, but that's okay. But that'll be kind of fun, But it's going to be a nice thing, and they are so clean and so nice. It's been so nice to have them there. So I just want to let you know that. But hopefully they'll be getting more people back. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on the pool? Okay, then let's, Rotary's grant application. Starting Christine.
Again, I'm Christine Erickson, Director of Parks and Recreation, and we have made a request to the County Board of Commissioners to approve the submission of a planning grant application to Rotary Charities. And I already have touched on this briefly. The planning effort aims to create a fundraising plan for Parks and Recreation and the Friends of Easling Pool to raise funds for needed equipment and improvements to the pool, as discussed earlier. Also, to do the proper research so that we know what we're doing in the future in terms of making a plan for sustenance of the pool. We want to be more financially sustainable. And we can use consultants and things to help us do the research that we need to do to make a plan for that. And we also want to help you with your decision-making during budgetary time. And what we'll do is take all of the information that we've gathered to help you make the important decisions you need to make about that pool. I'm just going to, that's a short version of it. I'm going to invite Matt Cowell up here. He's from the Friends of Easling Pool. As all of you know, we've been working with the Friends of Easling Pool and the Y as we call it the three-legged stool to hold up this pool at this point and to go into the future with it. All 3 of us are needed to make this happen, and I think that we've done a good job so far. Now we want to go to the next level. So Matt's going to talk with you more about the planning grant. But before I go, Commissioner Krupp, I just wanted to point out to you that in the Y contract, there isn't built in there a sliding scale for the management fee. What is built in there is just the taking over of utilities.
Right, once we hit 400.
Right.
But then at 500, there was a decrease. At 600, there was
Those were
a decrease.
eliminated from the contract
Okay.
at the end.
So
Those were preliminary
it's
terms.
hit 400 and hit 700.
Right, those were negotiating terms at the beginning, so I apologize if that was confusing.
No, thank you. I didn't remember that. Well, it was a lot of months and a lot of talking,
A lot of things have
But
happened.
I still do want to point out just the concept of swim lessons and the amount of people going in and paying dollars for
Right.
those lessons, yet they're not members.
And they're actually a bit cheaper. The non-member rate is about $8 cheaper than what we used to charge. And I know that
Right.
Mr. Menzel did ask about benchmarks that we had, and we had historical and anecdotal benchmarks. We knew how many historically, typically, we'd get in all of our classes, and how many swimmers we would get at different times of the year. But that was very loose compared to the Y, where they can project out and use their records. We didn't have a good enough record-keeping system to do that. I'm not making excuses. It is the way it was, and I wish we'd done it better, but here we are. So Matt can come up and talk with you more about the grant.
Good evening, everybody. Matt Cowell, 117 Homestead Court in Peninsula Township, and I'm here tonight, as Chris explained, on behalf of Friends of Easing Pool, which is now a registered nonprofit corporation in the state of Michigan. So an official little thing that we've got going on there. Still not a 501c3, so all of your contributions to Friends of Easing Pool are unfortunately not yet tax deductible, but we'll still welcome them anytime you'd like to cut those checks. Very straightforward ask for your support tonight on this grant application to Rotary Charities. They have a program of planning grants that are received on a monthly basis and reviewed by the review committee for the foundation that assists nonprofits and other community groups in all types of planning exercises, whether it might be a strategic planning. In our case, one very popular one is a fundraising strategy and plan. So that's the first important component of our planning ask to Rotary. What it will do is it will organize our group of volunteers around a common timeline, common talking points, help to identify potentially, kind of the sweet spot in terms of funding, what sort of funding mix we might be looking at, how much of that we want to pursue through grants versus through private donations versus fundraisers. So some real strategy and thought put behind that by folks who do this for a living and get our group of our merry band of volunteers here organized and all operating on the same page. The other part of this planning grant, there was, when we scoped the fundraising planning effort, there was money left in this $5,000 that we could pull down from Rotary Charities. And so what we want to do is take a look at and do kind of a matrix of publicly owned pools around the state and how those pools are funded. So what I expect to find, but we're going to see in exactly what proportion it is, but I expect to find there's a lot of different models for this. Some models are funding a pool through a general fund and a Parks and Recreational program out of a general fund. I suspect we're going to also find quite a few of them are not. They're on some different funding mechanism. They've drawn a district that mirrors a school district, or they've passed a recreational millage, or they've done something where general fund dollars aren't in the mix for the pool facility anymore. There's some other avenue of public funding or private funding or a mix of those that goes into these. But I'm not an expert on how that business gets done around the rest of the state. I don't think a lot of us are here. So I thought it, as we talked it through as a group, we thought that was something we were very curious about, and the fact that there's some room in this to fit that into this grant request, we thought that'd be a really worthy way to spend that and a real interesting study to get done, just to kind of help inform what the possibilities might be for our Easling Pool facility here, and some different ways maybe to try to crack that financial nut than just relying on general fund expenditures to help support the facility. So those are the two things we'd hope to get done with this. If you all support the submittal of the grant, we're probably looking at about a 1 month time frame, so roughly about a month from now before we would hear back from Rotary Charities. And but once that was available, we've got consultants identified. We could hit the ground running and have something done. When we turn the grant in, the proposed time frame is about 2 or 3 months start to finish. So we'd be looking to get all this work done and in place, right around the early summer.
Anybody? Ask a question?
I had a question.
Yes.
Is the consultant group you're working with North Sky?
Yes.
Okay. I've had 4 of those grants in different organizations, and they really are helpful. And it's a good way to go, so I'm really pleased you're doing that. It'll give you some good focus, and North Sky have some very good personnel to really help you, so I congratulate you on that approach. I think it's very well thought out.
It's a luxury to have that here available to this community, that expertise and someone kind of being an umbrella to help bring people who understand these sorts of things forward and make them available to groups like ours. So, good stuff.
Good.
Anybody?
Did you apply already for your C3?
We did, and they're, well, for the 501c3?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, we're still sort of undecided on that, Bob. I mean, we're not shooting for the moon here in terms of the capital improvements. We're looking at a few $100,000, and I don't say that tongue-in-cheek, but I've worked on some other campaigns that are in the millions, and so I really feel like we're at a very achievable level. We have a very interesting partner mix, the three-legged stool that Chris mentioned. Right now, there's not, I'm not convinced of the cost-benefit of investing in a formal 501c3 for the Friends Group just to do this round of capital improvements. I think, I really don't think it's
A lot of companies are set up, I know, for grants that if you're not a C3, they won't even look at you.
Well, so fortunately, the county holds a 501c3 designation.
Okay.
And as owner of the facility, everything else, it's actually most appropriate most of the time that the application go through the county. So we'll be back in front of you all on a fairly regular basis, asking for your permission to submit grants to certain funders under that 501c3 designation that's maintained by the county. If there wasn't a 501c3 designation to leverage, we'd be pursuing that formally. We'd have to, because too many of the foundations and funds that we would pursue would require that designation to apply. So we kind of have the luxury through this partnership to maybe not have to go there as Friends of Easling Pool. But a recent exercise getting the match for this grant, there's a required $1,250 match to leverage the $5,000 maximum from Rotary. The County Parks and Rec Commission committed half of that, $625. Friends of Easling Pool committed the other half of that. We had 300 or 400 of it raised already, and in an email, and a day later, we had the rest of it. So there's something to be said for folks donating to us when they don't get to write that off on their taxes, because we're registered with Michigan as a nonprofit, but you have to have the tax exemption, the 501c3, for that stuff to be, creditable to somebody's taxes. So if it looks like there's real benefit to that and a real need for that, we'll certainly pursue it. Right now, I'm not convinced that it's totally necessary.
I mean, that North Sky or whatever could probably determine that, what would be the best path.
We actually did discuss that with them, and they said, well, kind of wait and see. See how this thing goes, and if it becomes very necessary, then go get it.
Yeah.
But it's you're asking to be tax exempt. It's not it's a fairly arduous process.
Yeah, I've been through one. And
okay.
Thankfully, the lawyer fees were donated. So
that'd be nice.
That helped a lot, but it was a lot of back and forth with the IRS, and so it was a process. So.
Yeah, maybe email me that lawyer's name.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would move, hang on a minute, I have to make it big enough so I can read. I would move to authorize the Parks and Rec Director to apply for a Rotary Charities Planning Grant on behalf of the Parks and Rec Commission.
Is there a second?
Support.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, now.
Thank
Can I
you.
make one comment?
Yes.
And, even though I get tough, Christine gets tired of hearing me. One day she's going to hit me when I walk in her office. But, I do appreciate the work that the Y and that, Tim, you're doing too. I know it's the only way that this is going to succeed. So I do salute you and I appreciate the effort you're putting in there. So.
Just for your edification, it would cost you about $750 to set up a 501c3. Chuck Judson is very good at it. I did it with the Cherry Festival. In fact, the Cherry Festival was a 501c4. We set up the 501c3 foundation, and they are now converting the 501c4 into the 501c3 and eliminating the 501c4. So it's a wise move to make for exactly what you're talking about, fundraising. That really, and when you put in those grants, you have to put that 501c3 on there to get the money. So it's a wise move on your part.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to go on to the sheriff.
Yeah, I'm actually going to...
Oh, you're the sheriff.
I'm going to... No, I'm not the sheriff, not at all, but I'm actually going to start with this one.
Sheriff in town tonight.
No, not at all. Not by any
Show us
means.
your bullet. You have one bullet?
No, I want to talk a little bit about the process that got us to this point. It's been a joint effort between the Sheriff's Department and county administration. Back on March 2nd, there was a request to purchase some vehicles for the Sheriff's Department, and through some conversations with the undersheriff, there was a question about the local preference policy and the impact of that. And so we agreed to ask to have that agenda item removed so that we could come back, and I knew that the board was also looking at the purchasing policies and to see whether or not we could delay that and take a look at it. And so tonight before you, you have the purchasing policies, which has a change to it regarding the local preference policy. What would have happened had we actually moved forward a couple of weeks ago is the county would have ended up paying an additional $10,260 based on that local preference policy. And the policy as it was currently written at that time was that if a bid came in within 5%, and it was a local vendor, we could go with that local vendor and pay up to that 5% amount. The way it's presented to you tonight is that if a local vendor comes within 5%, they will be offered an opportunity to go down to that lowest bid and meet that, therefore maximizing the county's intent to save dollars and be more efficient in its operations. So the request tonight is to approve a purchase of 7 vehicles from the Sheriff's Department at a cost not to exceed $168,500. I would like to point out that in talking with the Sheriff's Department, they were willing, given our current fiscal climate and what we're looking at, to reduce the request from 9 vehicles to 7. And so I want to thank the Sheriff's Department for their partnership on that. In addition, they also were able to identify salary savings in the first quarter of the year and to be able to use those funds, and we'll administratively move those to be able to fund this purchase, saving us dollars in our CIP. So it was a great partnership. I want to thank the Sheriff, and I know if you have questions specifically about the vehicles and those details, he's here and very willing to speak to that. But I just wanted to lay out the process and what we were partnering on.
Wow, okay. Questions? Sonny?
Tom, these, or Chris, whichever is going to answer, were these patrol vehicles or these were the unmarked vehicles?
These are patrol, Chris Clark, Captain of the Sheriff's Office. These are patrol vehicles.
Because we did the unmarked vehicles a month or so ago, right?
Correct. Yep. These are, a majority of them are Crown Vics and one Charger, a 2006 Charger.
Are we leasing or are we buying?
These will be buying.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, I'll make the motion.
Yeah, would you?
Yes, I would move to approve the Grand Traverse County Sheriff Department to purchase 7 vehicles at a cost not to exceed $168,500.
Support. Okay. Johnson supports? Or was it Sonny? Okay. Commissioner Wheelock supports. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Now we come to administration. And who's going to take that?
Yeah, I will, Mr. Chairman. As you know, we have a challenge in meeting our pension obligations, and periodically people won't want to buy back additional years of service, and they have a right under the MERS agreement to buy up to 5 years. Of course, what happens is it increases the amount of liabilities that we have. So what we thought would make sense to just put a policy in place where we say we're not allowing employees to buy back any more time and increase the liability of the pension plan, and that way you don't have people periodically coming and asking for that. And it's just a clear-cut policy. We can't afford to put any additional years on a pension which increases the payout. And so this would just clarify that for everyone, and no longer would we allow anyone to buy back any additional time for their pension.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Tom, does this also apply to military time? Because doesn't MERS recognize military time?
I don't think it, in terms of reciprocal.
Right.
Yeah, this is different. Military time, Commissioner Wheelock, you get credit in terms of years of service. This you would have to buy back for a certain amount of money, but after a while, that is negated by longevity of a life cycle, and you're just paying out, and that's why we got in trouble. So that's why I think it's a good policy to change.
Yes.
I will rather than read the entire resolution, I will move that the Board of Commissioners adopt the policy that will not consider requests from employees to purchase years of service because it will increase the county's liability.
Is there a second?
Support.
Okay. Max Bauer and Klaus. Any discussion? Yes.
Well, I mean, I just think it's, again, back to the financial situation we're in, that we have to do things like this. You know, as we look at every avenue to cut costs, this just adds costs. So, you know, unfortunately, you have to do things like this.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Okay. Next thing is unfinished business. No. Purchase updates, policy updates, purchasing travel procurement card. Who takes that?
I will be.
Okay.
This kind of dovetails off of the conversation that we had just a few minutes ago about the purchase of the vehicles. This is a request to ask you to approve some revisions and updates to the purchasing policy, the travel policy, and the procurement policy. Staff was asked to take a look at those and based on some concerns and feedback that we had received to update those. What I ended up doing, going through that process, was really separating out and streamlining the policies and from the procedures so that they're two separate documents, so that the board's vision and your policy statement is stated clearly and succinctly so staff can implement it in the policy. And then what we'll do is develop the procedures on the administrative side and be able to have standard operations so we can meet the policy. And so what you have in front of you tonight are three separate policies related to purchasing, travel, and the procurement card. One of the things we were asked to do in that was, in the purchasing policy, was to clarify what are ineligible expenses for the county. And so we do have some clarifying language in there that will hopefully guide staff. And of course, if they ever have any questions, county administration is able to assist with determining whether or not it's an eligible expense. The policy clearly states that the county will not pay any sales tax. That is something that we can do, to save money, and so that has been included. We've updated the purchasing policy, including the approval process that you did earlier this year regarding the limits, so that is in here. We've also, again, addressed the local bidder process. And on the procurement card policy, we've placed limits on the cards. We've clarified who's authorized to use the card. And it also states that it will require a monthly reconciliation process. It indicates that procurement cards may no longer be utilized for the purchase of fuel, that we have to use fuel cards. This will save the county tax dollars. And then also, it clearly states that the purchase of travel insurance is not an eligible expense. So those are some of the significant changes that have been made in the policies. They have been run through a number of departments to see and identify if there have been any concerns or problems. We've worked through those. I appreciate guidance that we've received on that and making sure that these policies can be implemented and meet your standards as a board.
Okay, any questions or comments? Yes.
On the purchasing policy, I see we still have basically where if we're buying through MyDeal, there's no bidding required, and I'm opposed to that. We did that with the radios, and not to get into the radio issue, but it was proved we can make a $3 million purchase without any other competitive bids. So I would like to see that maybe reduced to, even if it was a $40,000 purchase through MyDeal. I believe MyDeal is set up to, if you need 5 radios, you can go through MyDeal and not get burned. I don't think the intention ever was to make a $3 million purchase. And secondly, the professional services, where you do not have to get a quote for services, who is the one that decides if the person is the qualified vendor that you're going to work with? I mean,
administrator.
as far as I know, we could all hire attorneys to get a decision on or ask a question. And
Yeah, if it's going to be a sole source, the county administrator would have to approve that. So there is that exception that would allow for that professional service to be excluded from the bidding policy, but it does have to go to the county administrator for approval.
Okay, same with the My Deal?
No, that is not set up that way.
Yeah, you're right, that's a different context.
That would still come to the board for approval at the $30,000 mark. When it exceeds that amount, it would come to the board.
You would have to make that decision.
Right, which it did. It come to the board last time too, with no other pricing, so.
Well, over that amount, Commissioner, it would be the board's decision as to whether to go with the contract or not.
Right, okay.
And that wouldn't be a staff option, it would just be the vote.
So I want to clarify that I'm hoping that'll clear up your concern that if it's over $30,000 and a My Deal is going to be involved, we can say, no, we want bids from everybody, not just My Deal.
Correct.
We can do that now, right?
And we could have.
We could have before, we just chose not
So
to.
now we have our antenna up. Are you happy with that?
Not really, but.
All righty. Any other comments? Yes.
Hang on a minute here. Well, this might really have more to do with are we going to deal with $500 a night hotel rooms in the procedures versus the travel?
As we drill down.
The policy?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll have limits and guidelines, and then under this, if they are not adhered to, I can refuse to accept the expenses.
Wow.
If there's a violation of that.
We have some IRS guidelines that we can utilize actually as benchmarks for traveling in certain regions, what the hotel rate is, what the meal per diems are. And so we'll be referencing those.
Thank you.
Yep.
The sales tax, I wanted to address that. What kind of policy are you looking at if it isn't followed? The department or person would have to reimburse the sales tax to the county, or? And any idea how much money we spent in sales tax last year by accident?
I do not.
The key, Mr. Chairman, the key to this is the implementation and the monitoring of it. No matter how good the policy is, if you're not monitoring, it doesn't do any good. So we'll set the guidelines out, and then we'll expect individuals to adhere to the policy. If they don't, there'll be consequences, but it'll have to be monitored, and that will be the staff, and we'll make sure we do that.
I suspect that these changes could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's a significant impact to our budget.
Yeah.
And it looks on the surface level as a mere change in policy, but in fact what this is months of work by our staff to make sure that we have policies that will save hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are bigger changes than many of the decisions we've made, yet it hasn't been highlighted.
Well, you should know that you had not hired a deputy administrator, you wouldn't have had it, because I could never have done it, so.
No, I acknowledge Jen and Commissioner Maxbauer's work on it as well.
I can't take full credit for it,
Well,
and
yes,
don't,
Chris
by any
did a lot
stretch.
too, but-
By any stretch. Jen did most of the lifting.
I know that Cherry has done a lot of
I was just going to say, the other heavy lifter was Cherry Wolf.
Yeah, Jerry worked hard on it,
This is something that should be
And-
acknowledged more than just a policy change,
yeah,
I think.
it was a difficult task, but Cherry helped a lot, and Chris Commissioner Maxwell did an awful lot of work, and Jen has certainly hit the ground running as starting, and so they all deserve credit for it.
Well, you sure have, Jen. Thank you.
Do we get, like if someone from the county goes to stay at a hotel here in Michigan, can we get the state rate, or is there any way we can negotiate any other rates, government rates? I know the state board I'm on, when I stay out of town for that, I pay the state rate, which is $75 a night.
There's a government
And
rate.
I think the regular federal government's higher because they reimburse higher, but and if I choose to stay somewhere else, I just get reimbursed the $75.
Usually by requesting a government rate at a hotel and showing an ID, you're able to
Okay.
secure that. It depends on the hotel, and the rates
I
fluctuate.
don't know if we have that through MAC or anything, but.
You won't go get one in Traverse City in June and July and August, I can tell you that.
Well, it is limited. It is, I mean, they do have their limits, but.
They'll give you a pup tent for the back.
Yeah. Okay. Do we need a motion for this?
I would appreciate a motion
Yeah,
to
I
approve.
think-
Okay.
The question is, do we want them in separate motions, because there's 3 different policies here?
Is there any reason why we can't pass them all with one motion?
Our lawyer left.
Our lawyer
The lawyer left.
I didn't hear.
Our lawyer left.
Our attorney left, so I would recommend that you do as 3 separate motions
Okay.
to play it safe.
Is there anyone inclined to?
I move that we approve the purchasing policy update.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Johnson and Crawford. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Go ahead.
No.
Oh, no, there's one no.
Aye,
Okay,
now
do we,
have
you
to roll call.
want to take a
I
roll
think
call?
he
Let's
can
do a roll
note,
call.
she could probably
She
note
can
that.
note it, Carl. No, it's me.
All right. Now, another motion? Someone's got another motion?
And move, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the revised travel policy on behalf of Grand Traverse County as outlined.
Support?
Supported by Johnson. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Unfinished business. Now we're on the new business.
Nope.
There's one more.
Procurement card.
Procurement,
Procurement cards.
Pardon?
procurement card
Procurement
policy.
cards.
Oh, okay.
I would move that we accept the procurement card policy as presented.
Support. Support.
Okay. Mass Bar supports. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we're passing. Unfinished business. Commissioner
You got to reappoint to Northern Lake CMH.
No, that's new business.
That's new business at the end.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Number 10, I think it's unfinished business next, am I correct?
I'm just going down the pages.
correct.
So
All right,
nothing to
Commissioner
add.
compensation discussion. Okay. Who wants to lead that?
I opened up Pandora's box, so I can start. I'm not going to say much on this tonight, and I hope we don't have a lot of discussion. It's a real simple thing. There's no spreadsheets, no proposal, no policies, no anything that back this up, because the truth is, we deserve our pay, and we work for it, and we earned it. But so did all the rest of the employees and the retirees that we're going to have to make cuts to. That's it. It's pretty simple. It's a policy that I want to enact based on ethics, and I've sat on this board with you guys, and I've stood up for your ethics many times, and I hope you stand with me. So we can lead by example. That's what this is all about. There's no resolution that creates leadership. You either have it or you don't. So I don't want to get into a bunch of numbers, but I will say it has a savings to the budget over the next couple of years, obviously, in dollar amounts larger than the pool that we are talking about closing if they can't meet. But I don't want to talk about the numbers. I did not do this to hurt any commissioners. I did not do this to prevent people from running for office. I did not do this to do anything but say, it's an idea, let's throw it out there. If you stand with me, you do. If you don't, you don't, and we move on. As far as hurting people that run in the future, every one of you have filed to run, I believe, and I assume you filed to run to win. So your assumption is you're going to win. So this would be a decision made on about yourself as well. State law does not allow us to eliminate or diminish any compensation of elected officials during the term that they serve. It's just the law. I didn't make it. If we were to say we're afraid to make change for people that serve after us, well, then no change will ever happen because the law doesn't let you do it except in the next term, number one. Number two, we've done this before. We did it to the drain commissioner. I don't remember anybody upset at all. That salary went from $70,000 to $7,000 for the next term. People still ran, including the person whose salary was was diminished. So I just want to have a simple vote. I'm going to make the motion. If it fails, and let's just move on. But to me, it's It's a resolution of character and leadership and nothing else. And we just say to all of these people that we're going to be significantly impacting their lives, that we're going to impact ours also. It's only for 2 years. It's for one term. Our administrator and our deputy administrator has mentioned this as well, looking into the future to do this properly and have a, what's the commission called? The people that look at pay.
Local Officers Compensation Commission?
Thank you. Tom has suggested a local officers' compensation committee that would look at all elected officials, prosecutor, clerk, register of deeds, all of it, and let's do it right. We don't have the time to do that now, as our filing deadline is April 19th. But I would like to have this go for one term, and then at some point before the expiration of this, we would create this commission to have sound reasoning and look at the elected officials' salaries in the whole county, and at that time, look at changes in pay and official structure. Right now, I don't see any need, because I'm here to tell you we earn all of our dollars. I know how hard all of you work. So this isn't a resolution to say we don't deserve the pay we get or we're worth nothing. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm saying for one term, let's set that all aside and together as a team and join with everyone to solve this. I said last week, we won't solve this without the retirees, the citizens, the elected officials, the staff, and the media all working together. We won't do it. So Dan brought up a great point last week about union contracts. I mean, I was schooled by many of you that just doesn't happen overnight. You don't just reopen them. So I was frustrated by that. And then we talked about other changes and the time delays on that. And I thought, well, what could we do now where there's 7 of us and only we get to make decisions for the 7 of our pay? So we could do that now. So I don't want to look at a bunch of programs and dissect commissioner pay. We either do it or we don't. I'll make the motion to eliminate per diem payments and salary effective January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2019, with the caveat that an elected officials compensation committee happens in the second year of this plan to come up with fair and equitable pay from an outside opinion.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Go ahead.
Many years ago, I suggested, I come at it, I guess, from looking at what Commissioner Klaus does in his business and Commissioner Wheelock does in his, and I guess what this country was founded on. I believed many years ago we ought to cut our salary to $1 and just be paid for the work we do. Meetings we attend, et cetera, just $1 a year. That having been said, my husband was talking to me about leadership and when he was in the military. And he said one of the benefits of being the low man on the totem pole, and there weren't very many, was you got to eat first. Leaders eat last. And I see leaders eating last at TCAPS, at NMC, and I want you to know that I have been contacted and publicly commended for doing this, considering this. Kit Wilson, Trustee Wilson at Garfield Township, Tuesday night, said, I really commend the board and the commissioners for considering doing this. And the other person I spoke with was coincidentally another person you'll all know. I've spoken with people you don't know, but I'll stick with the ones you do, was last night at a meeting, and Jay Zollinger was there. And Jay was telling me that compensation for ACME trustees, there isn't a single ACME trustee that takes their entire compensation. And he really commends the board for considering, he told me he commended the board for us considering this, given the financial straits that the county is in. So I am supporting this motion.
Okay, okay. We have to amend this motion because Tom just reminded me, we can't take no pay.
$1.
A dollar a month.
I will make a friendly amendment for $1.
Yeah, would you second that too?
Michigan law requires that.
Yes.
Okay. So, do we need to vote on that?
We also should mention that Michigan
It's
law
friendly amendment,
requires
no.
that there's a county board of commissioners. Many people want us to just get rid of the county board of commissioners. It's actually required. An administrator isn't, or a finance director
Dictator
or HR,
mental,
but
yeah.
county board of commissioners is
Okay.
required by the state of
Don't
Michigan.
tempt us.
Okay, Carol had her hand up first. Go ahead, Commissioner.
When you bring up leading by example, I think you have to be sure that the example that you're setting is an example that people can follow. Excuse me. A 100% pay cut is not an example that anyone can follow. It's just not. You're not going to have people lining up saying, yeah, I'm going to do that to help the county. I'm going to keep coming to work every day and I'm not going to get paid. When you lead by example, it needs to be something that you would expect people to follow. If we are asking employees to take pay cuts, take the same pay cuts. If we're asking them to do anything, do the same, do a little more. This is an unattainable goal for employees, if that's the intent. Nothing they ever do or ever give up can live up to that. Nothing. It's also been said that it may seem to make the board exclusive to only people who can afford to give up the incredible amount of time that is required for this job without pay. I have an hourly job. I'm not self-employed. I don't own a business. I am not retired. If I don't go to work, I don't get paid. I have a very gracious employer who allows me the time and flexibility to do this job. But it's an inordinate amount of time. And while I just think that doing this would make the board exclusive to only the people that would be able to be, that would be economically feasible for them. And we have a voice. The rest of us have a voice. Hourly employees and people who just need to go to work every day, we have a voice too. People who are not self-employed, don't own their own business, not retired, the voice needs to be here on this board. And I think that doing this would greatly diminish that. It would make people unable to serve. And I also think that the thought that in a couple years you'd be able to say we could get it back, I don't know about that. We'd have to see how that would work out. I tend to think that the PR hit that the board would take asking for their salaries back would be immense. If they said this board could do it for 2 years, all the rest of the boards can continue on. So I guess that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Any other, Commissioner Wheelock?
I believe the last time, unlike all the rest of the county employees, the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners have not received a pay increase since 2001. If my memory is correct, in 2001, we received a $500 increase of our salary. The front page of the Record Eagle was very adamant to talk about the percentage of increase that we gave ourselves. The long and the short of it is, I requested, and I'm sure all of you got the email, what the W-2 totals were for each commissioner. And I did the math. And I can guarantee the public that every one of these 7 commissioners have attended a lot of meetings that they didn't put on per diem sheets. There's no possible way that these numbers are what they are if they didn't. Even at $35 a meeting. When I came here 18 years ago, I was getting $50 a meeting at Long Lake Township. But we're still getting $35 here. The average commissioner's salary for last year was $11,598.47. 3 commissioners take county health insurance on themselves, they pay for it on their family, and 4 commissioners take a $2,000 stipend in lieu of payment of health insurance. That $2,000 stipend is run through the payroll system, so the check that Chris and I get is $1,468 out of that $2,000. The government got the rest of it, you know. But the fact is that there is not a day that I don't either get phone calls or people stopping in my business to talk about county issues. You know, this is not a part-time job that you just can figure out by the hour and say, yeah, this is what commissioners get paid. We need to compensate people to sit in these jobs. We simply need to do that. You know, if you want to talk about a pay cut by a percentage or something like that, like Carol said, I'm willing to have that discussion. But to say that we're going to do this for nothing, I don't believe that's fair to the commissioners that are seated here or commissioners that would choose to run for these positions. I've said before, and I'll say it now, I could not allow one of my employees to sit in the position I sit here. It would not be possible for me to give them the time off and make them available to the public that calls me in the middle of the day or in the evenings or whatever to have the conversations or stop in. I could not allow my employees to do that. It would be detrimental to my business. You know, that being said, I leave my business a lot of hours to take care of what the county needs to, what I feel that I need to do for this job, and that entitles me to some compensation for that time too.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? Commissioner Klaus?
I as well have a business that I'm away from during the day, early in the afternoon to make it to these meetings, which when I typically get home at 6 o'clock on any other work night, so getting home at 4:30 to come here is cutting out early. You know, to not be compensated, geez, I look back at last summer, just the Wednesday nights that I could have gone fishing with my granddaughter. That's where I'll be next year, if this goes through, because I will enjoy family time. I put my priorities, God, family, and country, or county, and I will not put the county in front of my family. That's how I feel about it. And I, you know, I won't be here next year without a salary. And I don't have a problem reducing a percentage. I'm fine with that. But my family does mean more to me than the county, because my taxes, I'll be paying them next year. I'll be paying them till I die. They're only going to go up a certain amount. Whatever we do here is not going to reduce that amount. It's going to be the same, and it's not going to increase substantially. It'll be just a easier life. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take him next, okay? Go ahead, Doctor.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I understand the principle behind this, and I'm on the fence. I really wish we wouldn't have had the motion on it so we could have discussed it more.
You need the motion before you have the discussion.
I know.
Dumb Robert's rules.
Yeah. How about Bob's rules? Because you know, I told Tom when he was working for $1 a month that I always felt like people should get paid what they're worth. That being said,
A lot of people thought you was, you know, overpaid.
that being said, I'm sure every county employee thinks they should be paid more. You know, my concern with it is the viability of anybody else that's running. But the other side of that is if you're running for this to get paid, that's not the reason to do this either. It is a job that obviously you don't get paid what the time is involved. I've served on the state board where all I get is hotel expense and mileage. I volunteer a lot of time with the American Legion Baseball, and I don't get a dime off of that. I serve because it's something I want to do, and I think it's the right thing to do. So, you know, I know you can look at this every which way there is. But I think it does send a strong statement. And of course, either way it goes, people are going to agree and disagree with it, so.
Yes, Commissioner.
All these three gentlemen make great points. To what Bob just said about why do we serve, I care tremendously about what happens in this county. And I don't think that that should be diminished by the fact that I get paid for it, for the time that I spend. I obviously did not run for the money, obviously. It's not very much. But the only consolation that I have for the tremendous amount of time that I spend away from my family is that I can also help them. That amount of money helps my family and compensates not very much, but a little bit for the time and effort that I put into this, because I do care. So I really don't think that taking a salary for this elected position says that I don't care and that I ran for the wrong reasons or anything like that. I ran for the right reasons. Also happened to get paid. Sonny spoke about an employer that allows you to do this. It's rare. My employer is wonderful. And there are times all day long that I take calls for this job. And I take the call, I get on my computer, and I clock out. And I walk downstairs, and I go out to the front of my building, and I stand and talk. And I am giving up pay at my other job while I'm doing that. Because that's not fair to my current employer to sit there in my office and chat about county things. So, and those things, I don't get per diem or anything for any of that. I clock out and go talk to that person, and when I'm finished, I come back in. That can be an hour-long conversation. So it is a tremendous amount of time, it's a tremendous amount of effort, and I don't think that getting paid for it says that we ran for the wrong reason or that we don't care, because all of us obviously do care tremendously.
Okay. Commissioner.
I would agree with you. I think we all ran because we care. And Commissioner Wheelock makes a great point when he says we work all day. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my morning. It started off with a city resident questioning me about changing a precinct inside the city from the Civic Center to NMC. And so I did my due diligence, I researched, I spoke with Dan Lathrop, it's in his district. I then made telephone calls to the city clerk's office to determine how those precinct locations are determined, and I got back to the city resident. I had a wonderful discussion about everyone's favorite subject, the bell tower.
He called you too?
Yes.
Yes.
And I made what I think was a constructive suggestion. He thought it was a constructive suggestion, and I think he's going to move forward with my constructive suggestion. But that was a long conversation. I spoke with Ms. DeHaan regarding the policies in tonight's packet. I just wanted to be absolutely certain that Mr. Forsythe and/or Mr. Cooney had reviewed those policies. I've been contacted, and I know Dave is watching tonight. Hi, Dave. I was contacted by a CPA that happens to live in Grand Traverse County who offered his expertise regarding the unfunded pension debt and has provided me with a report. I also spent the morning studying that report, and I will be communicating with him about it later. Because he had some questions, and I will take any information, expertise that I can get regarding that problem. Then I spoke to a resident regarding environmentally friendly septic systems. And He's been pushing for these environmentally friendly septic systems. I went to the Garfield board meeting early last night to talk to Chuck Korn, who sits on the Board of Public Works, to talk about this. I then had a conversation as a result of that conversation. This was my morning. Now, this is not all of it, but that, I won't bore you with the rest. But, I talked to Paula Segala. This was in answer to a question regarding why we mailed out insurance forms from an employee. This was my morning. These are my days, but they are my days by choice, and I certainly don't diminish your contribution, Commissioner Crawford, and I certainly don't mean to do that. I believe in my heart that this is the right thing to do, and that's it.
Anybody else? Yes.
Well, I'd like to hear from you, but then I'm going to call the question because, again, this was my baby, my Pandora's box, and we all know we don't get paid enough. Nobody cares. I don't really think we need to discuss that. It's just, we're willing to make a sacrifice for leadership or we're not. Let's have a vote. But Dan, I would certainly not make a motion to call the question without yielding to the chair for his opportunity.
I can use the money. I'm just a small-town podiatrist, not a neurosurgeon. But I do support this. I think it would send a tremendous message to the public. I'd be woefully sorry if we lost you, Ron. I think you're a wonderful person on this board, and you too, Carol. So in making this motion, I don't want you guys to think that I'm trying to fire you. These are hard decisions to make. I respect you all so much. And if any one of you weren't on this board next year, I'd be aggrieved about it. So, but I'm going to support it. Okay, you're going to call a question?
I will, unless if you just want to call for a vote.
Okay, can I just do this yea and nay, or?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Okay, let's do it.
Excuse me, point of procedure, it says discussion, so the public wouldn't have any idea that you're actually voting on this tonight.
Really was supposed to be for discussion.
It's a committee, so it will go to the full board next week for approval.
Yeah.
This is a vote at committee.
It'll go on the consent calendar then next week if it gets approved, and then next week it can get pulled off the consent calendar and discussed.
I'm just saying, I don't think the public, if they'd have read this, would have thought you were going to vote on it.
This is the same amount of people we get every week, I hate to say.
Okay.
Actually more.
Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Johnson?
Yes.
Kropa?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Wheelock?
No.
Klaus?
No.
Crawford?
No.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Okay, then we go to
Okay,
CMA.
that's a tough one.
They're all going to be tough coming up here.
yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that was tough. Okay. Let's do new business, CMH reappointments. Anyone going to take that?
I can. Two people are up for reappointment for Community Mental Health. Randy Camps, who has, I believe, is a term and a half. He's been there, and Mary Maroy. They are both extremely involved in community mental health. The learning curve at community mental health is huge, and they're past that. So I think that we could reappoint them both to that board. We haven't received any interest in anybody else applying. So we didn't put it out for applications, but nobody's expressed an interest. So I would make a motion that we would reappoint Randy Camps and Mary Maroy to Community Mental Health.
Is there a second? Okay, Sonny, any discussion? All's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed. Okay, now, second public comment. I don't think we have to read that again, do we? All right. Anybody want to, please don't be shy. Does anyone want to sing a solo?
John wants to.
Okay. All right. back to the commissioner, commissioner committee reports.
I don't have a committee report.
The announcement?
Well, actually, Mr. Menzel has an announcement, whether he knows it or not. I was talking to, just so the public knows, regarding the concerns about moving Precinct 8.
Oh, yes, that- I can help you
There have
on
been
that.
concerns that nobody knows where the PE building is at NMC, and I wanted to let everybody know that, again, the clerks decide the polling places. It is not up to the county board. That having been said, Mr. Menzel has arranged with the city clerk for a new polling precinct
Yes.
for Precinct 8, and Mr. Menzel, I will let
It would be...
you talk about it.
For 4 times a year, for a 2-year agreement, and it would be in the kitchen or the cafeteria area of this building.
So everybody pretty much knows where the governmental
Where the
center
governmental
is.
center is.
And I think it'll be an excellent spot for polling. You're welcome. Don't thank me. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Menzel, for
Yeah.
working on this behind the scenes. Thank you, Dr. Lathrop, and that's all I've got.
Anybody else have a announcement or commissioner report? All right, closed session. I guess we're
We already
adjourned.
did.
What?
We already did the closed session.
Thank you. And if you had these filled out, you can give them to Sarah.
Did you take it, Sarah?
Yes, I
had
did.
one. Did you get mine?
Did you give me yours?
Officially adjourned?
It's not here at my desk. I didn't hear it.